Welcome to Delenta Activate, the podcast that brings you insights and stories from executive coaches and changemakers in the leadership space. In this podcast, you'll hear from experts who successfully coach leaders and teams to achieve their goals and overcome challenges and transform their organisations. Whether you're a coach, a leader, or someone who wants to grow personally and professionally, this is the podcast for you. So tune in, get inspired, and activate your potential with Delenta Activate.
Welcome to our new episode of the Delenta Activate podcast. And today I have with me Tim Huff, the president and CEO of Turknett Leadership Group. And Tim, I'd love to give you the space to introduce yourself in the way you want to be known to our listeners. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you allowing me this opportunity to be a part of this. And thank you so much for everything that y'all are doing for the coaching industry. So yes, my name is Tim Huff. I'm the CEO and president of Turknett Leadership Group. I've been blessed to be the lead of this organization for a little over a year now. And I've been part of the organization for about 3 to 4 years. And it's just been a wild and fun ride in being a part of this organization and the great things that we're doing for all of our clients. We like to say that our mission is to help spread leadership character around the world. And we're trying to maintain laser focus on that mission. And I've just been blessed to be part of it.
Great, thank you. And well, as you know, a lot of our listeners are in the coaching industry. They may be coaches, they may be organizations receiving coaching. And I know that your kind of story, your love affair with coaching, if I may call it this way, started in a slightly unusual way. Do you want to share a little bit more about that?
Oh, sure. I really like that phrasing, the love affair with coaching. That's the statement. Yes, and it's really interesting as I'm meeting so many coaches. The backgrounds that they have are varied, and my story is as varied as others as well. So most of my career has been in IT. So I've been an IT leader in Fortune 500 companies and grew to an executive role in a couple different IT firms and Fortune 500 companies. And several years ago, it's probably about 8 or 9 years ago now, I was fortunate to be in an organization in which the CEO was very intelligent on leadership development. And as I was part of a team that had some struggles internally as a team and internally as individuals, the CEO said, "Hey, you know what this team needs? This team needs an executive coach." And so I thought at the time, okay, this is just going to be another meeting on my calendar. It's just going to be another time to waste with another conversation, having no clue what it meant. And the short version of the story is it was literally transformational to me in so many different ways. I recognized strengths that I really didn't even know that I had, weaknesses that I didn't realize were holding me back, and obstacles to my leadership effectiveness. So as we worked through those kinds of things over the course of about a year, it really unlocked a lot of things within me, not just in my professional life, but even in my personal life. My conversations with family members got better. My self-confidence got better as a human being. And towards the end of the engagement, my coach at the time said, "Hey, you might want to consider looking into executive coaching. You have some interest and some aptitude there. So I want to look into it." So I did, and I started. That's what my love affair of being a coach started. I attended some classes, and I eventually became a certified coach through ICF. And while I was continuing my IT career, I was doing some executive coaching on the side. And I truly loved it. I was getting incredible fulfillment out of doing the coaching. And I had an opportunity several years ago to take my side hustle of leadership coaching and turn that into my main role by joining Turknett Leadership Group, first as an executive coach, then leading the coaching practice, and then eventually leading the firm, which I'm blessed to do today. So that's how I came to be where I am.
I love that. And you sharing, how the side hustle became the main hustle is a very common thread. So it was the same for me. I started in a slightly different context. I learned coaching skills to help me lead transformation in businesses because someone had recommended those skills might help. And it was the same side hustle, 5 a.m. sessions, 10 p.m. sessions with people in Asia and America just to keep up the skill set. And I would never have dreamt of one day doing it full time like you and I do now. I remember you said that the journey or the ride, you talked of a wide ride at Turknett's group now, leadership group. So can you share a little bit more? Like, right, I have an association of up and downs when I think of a wild ride. So what's the highest up and what's the lowest down that you encountered so far?
Boy. Oh, that yeah. There's so many ways I can answer that question, but I'll get to a couple of points. One of my highest highs was when I received some feedback from one of my clients who just had an amazing transformational experience, the kind of experience that we would want our clients to have. This leader, when we first started our engagement, was struggling to the point where this leader was actually let go of their leadership role and put into a non-leadership capacity just because of the ineffectiveness that he was demonstrating. And then over the course of our time together, he had this aha moment several times where he just completely transformed himself, and he just really leveled up. Had a fantastic experience. He ended up not only getting back into a leadership role, but getting into a much more effective role for him. And the feedback that we had that he gave me at the end of that overall engagement just really spoke to my heart about how I really helped him as a human being. And that just I was riding that high for quite a while. That was such an incredible experience, just knowing that I really helped somebody in a very, very tangible way. On the low end, of course, there's a lot of economic impacts that are happening around the world, and when we have some of those troughs, it could be a little disheartening to know that there's so much good that we can do as an organization and as coaches in the world, and just not having the ability to really employ all of our resources to help people. And that becomes a little disheartening. But then again, the next week comes around, and then we get some more clients, and the world is a better place. So it's just riding that wave of the highs and lows of being responsible for an organization like ours, and just knowing that we can make a tremendous good in the world, and just having the opportunity to do that.
Yes, and I think your experience of riding the highs and lows actually makes you even more valuable to your clients because you've been there. You know you can relate to their rides as well in a certain way.
Oh, that's a really good point. There are so many times when I talk to either prospective clients as an actual coachee or the buyers, and I know that look in their eyes and the tone of their voice that, you know what, they're going through some of the same things that I'm either going through at the same time or that I've been through before. And I can really empathize in a way that just makes it real. It's just it can be tough sometimes, and it can be a lot of fun sometimes. And just knowing where everybody is and meeting them where they are is such a blessing.
And I don't know, do you mind if we go a little bit back to your IT days? Because we're kind of talking about the ups and downs of business, and IT plays such a huge role in the day-to-day running and optimization of the business. And obviously, AI is on everyone's agenda. I'd love to get your view as an insider.
Mm, mm. Oh yeah, this is my goodness. We are so blessed to be in the times that we are in. The AI revolution is just affecting so many different industries, so many different ways. So it's really fun to be on the cutting edge of seeing what's really going on in the industry. In terms of how it's affecting the coaching industry, I'm kind of thinking that as an industry, we're still trying to figure it out. There's a lot of great things going on, a lot of great organizations like Delenta doing some fabulous work in this space, but just really understanding how it can truly impact our clients and our overall effectiveness as coaches is going to be a really fun way to do it to live. Some of the things that I've seen that are some of the more effective ways that AI can be used in an organization, I'd say are twofold at the moment until we really start figuring out AI. At least at the moment, there are two things that I think is most relevant. The first one being real good data-driven insights. And what I mean by that is we have the ability now to access data in a way that we've never had before. The way that the internet and search engines have been able to optimize, that's one thing, but AI is just taking that to another level. That even inside a coaching session, real time, we can have data-driven insights like we've never had before, and more effectively when we do it offline and the creation of development plans and things like that. The second way that I think is really having an impact is what I'll kind of refer to as like the micro coaching engagements that happen between sessions. When a client has a particular issue, a question or something where they would normally be able to call up the coach, and if the coach happens to be available and have the 5-10 minute conversation about what do you think about this? How should I approach this situation? Immediately at their fingertips, they can have an amazing capacity to get real honest to goodness insights and suggestions on how to approach a given situation like we've never had before. And that kind of capacity exists right now in a very real and easy way. So I think those are the two first things. Now, once we get 3 to 5 years down the road and all of the things that's happening in the AI industry now, that's going to be a different story. It's going to be really fun to see what happens next.
Mm. And I'm really curious about that, what happens next. So I remember one day being stuck and asking ChatGPT, like, ChatGPT, pretend you're a coach, this is your framework, da da da. What questions would you ask me? And the questions were pretty good. I was like, yeah. But what I noticed personally is that it's easier to wiggle out of it. Like if there's an uncomfortable question, a question I don't quite like, right? I can just ignore it. Whereas if I'm with a human being on the other end, they're like, yeah, Lise, you've evaded that question twice. So there's something different. And yet I wonder how we human beings will shift our relationship to those tools. And maybe over time, we don't need the human anymore to keep us, kind of centered on the question we're trying to avoid. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, that's a really interesting point. There has been conversations in the coaching industry about will AI take over our roles as coaches. Personally, for me, I'm not worried about that because of the point that you just made. A machine can never hold a human being accountable. Only human beings can hold human beings accountable. Now, an AI engine can be programmatically designed to try as best that they can to hold somebody accountable, but the humanness of coaching will never go away. That is the true nature of what is so great about coaching. Now, some of the things that coaching will be impacted with AI in the future could be more around an automated tool that could augment in a lot of different ways the overall experience. What I think might be a little bit of a challenge or a risk there is if we start relying too much on it and we start really commoditizing the experience versus democratizing the experience. Meaning if there's an AI coach that an organization wants to put in front of a client base and say, yep, there's your coach. We don't have to do humans anymore. There's a huge risk in that by eroding the efficacy of what coaching is all about and just really taking away that humanness to the point that you just made. That interaction is just so critically important, and it can be replicated. Technology can try to replace humans, but it never will. I think we're set as coaches to be able to live out this experience as coaches for years to come.
And that reminds me of, so you mentioned ICF. I'm a member of ICF as well. And the ICF Thought Leadership Institute has actually done quite a lot of resources around what the AI could look like. And they went as far as, implants in the brain that could then feed you all sorts of, so it was pretty futuristic and yet not that far off. When you think about it, you're like, yeah, that actually is closer than we think. I'm curious about what you mentioned as humanness. What do you think makes the humanness so special for us?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think the nature of how we interact with other human beings, just everything about the nonverbal communications, the tone of voice, everything that makes a human can be replicated in a lot of different ways. But the soul of what we bring into our interactions, how we build trust, it can't be replicated in a way that's not fake, that's not authentic. Only a human can do that. Now, it's interesting. One of the things that I'm being reminded of now is talking with somebody, an incredible technologist who's literally on some of the cutting edges of what AI is doing at the moment. And I was asking him questions about when are we going to get to that singularity when AI is able to think as fast as a human and be able to interact and literally almost replicate the human interaction. And his answer was interesting. We are actually maybe 5 to 10 years away from the technology being able to do that, but the primary obstacle is the computing power that we have. The way that the computing power exists right now just literally won't even be able to support that. It's not until we really get quantum computing in such a state that it can be truly integrated in real time with AI, can that even be possible? And that's at least a decade or two away. So until that time, we're going to be able to see some amazing advancements in the things that technology can do. But I'd still go back to just the human interaction can never be replaced.
Thank you. It feels like a good pause here to maybe go over to some more business topics, if you agree,
Sure.
because this conversation can be so philosophical, can't it? In terms of what makes a human, how are we human? And that's actually fascinating territory, but not quite the focus possibly for our listeners. So let's see. I'm quite curious. We have a lot of listeners to the Delenta Activate podcast who are business owners, and some of them are doing really fabulously well. Others are at the just very beginning. How has been your experience? You mentioned how you joined first as a coach, then as the leader of the coaching practice, and now you're the CEO and president. What were your insights from leading a business in the coaching space?
Yes, one of the things that I found that's really interesting is there are a lot of players in this space, and they take on a lot of different forms. As you just mentioned, there's a lot of single coaches out there who own their own business individually, as well as some cohorts of coaches that create a business entity, as well as organizations like ours that do a lot of different things in addition to coaching and the kinds of things that we can do for an organization. So I think that one of the biggest things that can be effective is two things that come to mind. The first one is differentiating the services and differentiating the way that the value proposition can be made to prospects and to clients, and understanding who your customer truly is or who your client truly is. I didn't really appreciate that as much until I actually got into the role that I'm in, and I really started lasering in on, we can do a lot of things for a lot of different people, but to truly be successful as an organization, we need to position ourselves and we need to be thought of and have the reputation for a particular kind of use case for a particular kind of client. And for us, that's senior executives of large companies, the Fortune 2000 kind of companies, C-suite executives. That's our sweet spot. And our coaches are fabulous coaches with a variety of different backgrounds. So regardless of the kinds of services, the kinds of coaching that the organization or the client needs, we're able to satisfy that. So understanding the clients, understanding the value proposition that one can bring to the table is going to be incredibly important to be effective in a space that's replete with a lot of different players out there and a lot of different skill sets. So I think that's something that I've learned along the way, and I've been very pleased to be able to understand the importance of that.
Mhm. And so when you think of that particular niche of yours, or target client of yours, what do you see as their biggest pain points?
It's interesting. I've noticed a couple different trends, and there's been a little bit of a shift in those trends in the past couple of years, but overwhelmingly, I think the things that have to do with interpersonal relationships continue to be front and center in some of the biggest struggles. Managing conflict, being able to have constructive conflict-based conversations in those high stakes topics in a way that doesn't damage relationships. That's first and foremost the largest area of scope that I've seen as a primary pain point. A second one that I think is close behind is what I'll refer to as executive presence. And I'm using that phrase as an umbrella phrase for things like self-confidence, presentation skills, influence. I was just dealing with a prospect this morning, in fact, where the ability to influence others in a way to be open-minded and interact and engage effectively with peers and superiors is this person's primary area of focus. And they may be incredibly good technologists or incredibly good at what they do from the technical aspect, but those human interactions continue to be front and center of the pain points that we're seeing across our client base.
Yes, and I'm smiling because this, to me, really is the essence of our work. We're back to what we were talking about when we were talking about AI and humans, right? It's this relating. And so either relating to another human being, relating to some sort of subject. For some clients, it's, oh, what's your relationship to sales? Oh, I hate sales. Well, let's work on that relationship. So it's really in the relational aspect. How do you do that with your clients?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think a couple different things come to mind. First off, we customize every engagement. We have a standard set of packages that we base off of, but especially when it comes to those personal interaction kind of engagements, we try as best we can to incorporate, if you will, both sides of a particular confrontation or conflict. But even if we're only able to affect one side of the engagement, we as with any coaching engagement, we always start with building trust, building a framework about understanding what success looks like in the coaching engagement, things like that. But once we really get into it, we start with understanding the whole context. So the person who's struggling with this relationship-based kind of a situation, understanding what is the obstacle to effective communication or effective conflict or effective confrontation, and understanding what that obstacle is doing with respect to understanding the other side, if you will, the other person's story. What facts exist? What story are you telling? What story are you hearing or not hearing? And what does success look like in the relationship? And just having those kinds of conversations. Once trust is built in that coaching relationship, then the person really has the ability to open up their mind and just explore things from different perspectives. And usually, especially if there's like a single kind of confrontation with one other person or one other party or one other department, usually once that happens and they're able to see something from a different perspective, that opens the door to the aha moment. It has to be done from the client side, of course. It can't be given by the coach, but the coach helps unlock that door. The client walks in, sees the situation from a different perspective, and that allows that person to truly say, okay, so if I'm wanting this kind of a result, I'm not getting a result for this approach. Maybe this approach might work. And then understanding the iterative approach of just trying something out, having a conversation in a different way, truly leads to an exploration kind of a situation. So that's one of the ways in which we approach that.
I love that. So changing perspective, and I picked up also on your word of iteration, because there's so many perspectives one could have. So maybe the one you're trying on for a change is still not going to yield the best results. So let's iterate. Let's try again. Maybe we can look at it differently again. Nice.
One of the things that when my coach, when I was a client, one of the most impactful things for me was when he told me that the work experience, the life that we're living now, treat it like a laboratory. Try something out. And it doesn't mean that the world is going to fail if you fail. Just back up, try again. And that mindset that of course it relates to having a growth mindset was really helpful for me, and just recognizing that we can iterate. We have the ability to iterate. Fail, pick yourself up, try again. Fail, pick yourself up, try again. Over time, you will get successful. It'll naturally happen.
Beautiful. There are two things coming in that, right? It's kind of the compound interest of you try, and it builds up. Your experience builds up. Your options kind of increase with time. And what comes in for me, you talked about experimenting. To me, it's very closely aligned with play. There's a certain energy that shifts for me personally when I think about it as, okay, let's just play. And we may fail, but it's part of the game.
Yes, sometimes the play can be a little bit uncomfortable and challenging,
but
yeah, treating it as with that positive look, and that can be very powerful. I like that approach.
Yeah. So thinking of powerful, what is the legacy or the impact that you hope to create through your work?
Yes. Oh gosh, I love this question. Legacy. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. For Turknett Leadership Group, as I mentioned earlier, we are based off of something we refer to as the leadership character model. Our founders, Bob and Lynn Turknett, created this model in the late 90s. And the leadership character model is, if you will, a scale, an old-time scale that has a solid block of integrity. And on either side of the scale, you have the attributes of respect on one side and responsibility on the other. The intention being that a leader of character is able to artfully balance those attributes, but the underlying aspect of integrity is a non-negotiable. So through that model, we refer to that as the leadership character model, about the primary way that a leader can be effective in any situation, and anyone can use this model to lead, irrespective of their role. So we believe in it so strongly that the leadership character model is foundational in most of our engagements, most of the products and service offerings that we have, to the point that spreading the leadership character concept around the world is truly why we exist. Coaching just happens to be the primary way in which we're able to bring this to light. So I think about, at some point, whenever it is I hang up my coaching hat and either sail on into retirement or whatever it is I decide to do, if my legacy is around bringing this leadership character model to as many people as possible in as many ways as possible, measured in whatever way that might be. But there's so much power in this leadership character model. And if more people can understand it and how to lead using this in a more effective way, and they can level up as a human to that level 5 kind of leader that they're capable of being, that would be a true legacy for me. And I would love the opportunity to have that happen in the world.
Nice. Can I invite you to repeat the 3 components of that model so our listeners get a bit of a repeat here? I love the integrity part in the middle.
Oh, absolutely. The 3 primary components: integrity. The solid base of integrity is a non-negotiable for a leader of character. It has to be there. And the other 2 attributes are respect on one side of the scale, which has several attributes associated with it. And the third one is responsibility. The idea being you have to be respectful for the people that you're surrounded with, but you also have to be responsible to the organization that you belong to. And the artful balance between those 2 in the right kind of way, in the right kind of situation, is what leadership character is all about.
Yeah, and I would argue that's what good coaching is all about too. But obviously, to me, coaching is leadership. So here we go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Tim, is there anything else that I should have asked you and did not ask?
Oh, that's a great question. Something we should all be including in our coaching conversations. That's a great one. We covered a lot of ground today, and I appreciate the way that you talked about AI. That should be on everybody's mind, and I'm hopeful that all of our listeners are able to understand how they can think about AI in a way that makes the most sense for them. So I'm glad we covered that, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the leadership character model. That's one of the favorites of mine. But I think we covered a lot of ground, and I thank you for your questions.
Thank you. And I should have added, as you were talking about AI and the data analytics that come from it, that actually Delenta, the company hosting this podcast, does quite a bit of work in that space in helping organizations. I'm thinking in particular of Bocconi University, for example, who could completely revamp their program and the way they approach coaching for their students, thanks to the intelligence, the data that they were gathering on the system. So it's emerging, it's happening. More and more people, it's very, very real, actually. The more you dive into it, the more use cases and applications you see. And it's certainly a space to be watched going forward. Thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Do you want to share anything as to how listeners can reach you?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to connect with anybody on LinkedIn. I could be found on LinkedIn. Tim Huff 1, I think, is my profile page, or www.turknett.com, turknett.com. Love to connect with anybody and talk about this wonderful world of coaching that we're in.
Nice. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. You too.
Powered by Delenta, your all-in-one coaching platform.